Let's get talking. We have in the studio with us here Mr. Akin Fatuke. Is a policy and public affairs analyst. He's also a chartered accountant joining us here on the program. Thank you for joining us again. You were here earlier, and I must say, happy democracy to you.
Happy democracy, Frank. I mean, happy democracy.
Blessed. It's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
And also joining us virtually is we have Inyobong Usen, is the head of policy at Budget Foundation. He's also joining us virtually. Thank you, Inyobong, for joining us. We also have Charles Fakroha, is iBrand senior analyst, joining us here on the program. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and happy democracy to you.
Thank you for having us, Frank.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, thank you. Okay, maybe I should, I'll come to you in a moment. Gentlemen, just hang on, but let's start from the studio here. So, now, you saw that data, where we're coming from. It's a long walk to economic freedom. It's a struggle. And you also have listened to that report. What comes to mind when you saw all of these, you have all of this information? How would you address Nigeria at this juncture?
My address would be that looking at all those numbers, looking at the econometrics dimension to the growth that we had, it went on a bit of a zigzag. I would say Nigeria missed opportunities, potentials that needed to have gone beyond the kind of integer that we had. We had the good, we had the ugly, and of course, we had something that was really bad that was in between. I like to say, for instance, that under the military, you were not encumbered by what I will now say is cost of governance. We adopted the presidential system of governance coming from, the parliamentary. It went too expensive. We were trying to put a good fit into an oversized, bloated suits and jackets. In the process, we learned, we got up, we fell down, and rather than take those experiences as something we should go on, and then we had interruptions, even within the military itself, so there was no continuity. However, one common trend that I found during the military, ironically I must say, was that the military, maybe by fiat, I don't know, maybe something that I will not be able to explain, were able to harbor some of the best of brains that helped to navigate from development plans, Professor Ojetunji Aboyade, even Shehu Shagari, who eventually became a president, was an undersecretary at a particular point in time, working with the first prime minister in the cabinet office. We had an Olufalaye, who was more or less a dazzler. Of course, we had Kalu Idika Kalu, you must say. We had an Okunjo Iweala. Okay. Okunjo Iweala now came after the uniform was done, and then, we now got back to civilian clothing. The point I'm trying to make is that we were able to find a way to navigate from Gowon's era, when we had one of the best ministers of finance in Obafemi Awolowo, who navigated during the war period without necessarily having to borrow. I therefore say using the words of Professor Ojetunji Aboyade, at the height of maybe a little frustration, that if you gave me a wing to fly, we'll fly the Nigerian, it's not going to be Air Nigeria this time, but we fly the Nigerian flag and the Nigeria, and it will have flagged without fail. I must also say that looking at those numbers, we must juxtapose them, of course, with earnings capacity, the Gulf War, the 7 Days War, Israeli, Egypt, the Yom Kippur Wars and all that, where at the end of the day we joined OPEC. And I remember Gowon saying that we are not only washed in plenty of petrodollars, we didn't even know how to
spend them, or perhaps utilize them.
And then some of the best investment we had at that time still are on up till today, albeit they've been washed down, they have been eroded. Many of them were not built on and built upon, and we now have a whole swelter of assets dotting the landscape of Nigeria, potential money that we should use rather than what we have gone into borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. We need to have indexed them. That's what other countries have done. That's what Indonesia has done. That's what India has done. And that is what Kenya is about doing. That just came after us. My point is that we decided to go prebendal. By prebendal, I meant our politics now became, if it is my turn, I want to look at people who are close to me. I want to look at people from my clan. I want to look at people from my tribe and from my religion and stuff like that. Those are the kind of people I want to populate, which was what we found, unfortunately, in the very last regime that brought Bola Tinubu to fore. Straddling all this from 1963, I just say, okay, well, 1959, okay, up to our independence in 1960 and 1963, we had the Republican Constitution. Things were going in a direction that ensured that regions were competing amongst themselves. And then, of course, the Nziogu coup that came on 15th of January now swung the whole thing and brought what we are still dealing with up to tomorrow. Why is it that a coup will favor one side and not favor another side? Of course, we now got into the constitutional conference in a way that was aided and abetted by civilians and got us into what we call a unitary form of government. Plus, our crude, sweet crude, one of the best that you can find in the world, came into the picture, and then we became very awash. During Faide's time,
okay,
let me what have you?
Yeah, I know.
But we did not utilize the thing that we needed to utilize. So we had refineries. We didn't maintain those refineries. It became cesspit.